careful. It's kind of slippery up there.
Yeah, well, I was just trying to get a better look.
Oh. Well, look down. What? A man went over right here last week. They didn't find his body for 3 days.
Yeah, I know. He was my father.
How the life of the young man on the bridge became intertwined with that of Matt Anders is the subject of tonight's Crusader, starring Brian Keith.
Did you want to order something, Dick?
No, thanks, Harry.
Just bring him a cup of coffee, will you? Feel any better?
Yeah. I'm sorry about tonight. I guess that was kind of juvenile. Just that it's been building up in me all day. It was Father and Son Day at school, and all the guys had their dads on the bench for the big game.
Now, the police have talked to you already, haven't they?
Yeah, plenty. So what could I tell them? My father, Arnold Manning, stole $500,000 from the banker's savings and loan and then killed himself when the loss was discovered. Did you tell me your name?
Anders, Matt Anders. Look, I'll be in touch with you, Dick. You want to call me at that number. You get home all right from here?
Yeah, I just live a few blocks away.
Take it easy.
Loss of money from a federally insured bank or savings and loan company is our business. Alan Kingman, who is the West Coast investigating agent for the Federal Crime Commission, briefed me on the results to date.
That's about it, Matt. Missing money, suicide note, and a witness who saw him jump.
That's Ruth Talbot, huh?
30, good-looking, Manning's girlfriend.
Is there a Mrs. Manning?
Died in 48. The police found Ruth Talbot sitting in Manning's car, screaming. They drove across the bridge together. Manning jumped out, ran for the rail, and took the dive.
Where'd you find the suicide note?
In Manning's desk in his office.
Any question about the handwriting?
It's typed. Signature stands up as Manning's. So far.
Anything else?
A report from the guard on the toll bridge. Hope we come up with something, Matt. Takes a lot of good people to put $500,000 in the savings account.
It only takes one bad one to take it out. What's the girl's report here?
Mm-hmm.
Ruth Talbot. The Ritz. Miss Talbot?
Yes?
My name is Anders, Miss Talbot. I'll need a few minutes of your time, if you don't mind. May I come in?
Well, I was just getting ready to go out. Is it important?
That depends on how you look at $500,000.
Come in.
Thank you.
You said $500,000. The Manning money.
Yeah. Now, how well did you know Arnold Manning?
Very well. We were to be married next month. Oh, excuse me. This inquisitive little fellow will wear himself out at the sound of a strange voice. There. He's in for the night.
Can he still hear us?
Oh, he can hear us. But the cover over the cage seems to shut him into a world all his own. And then he'd know us what he hears.
Like an ostrich with his head in the sand.
Something like that. Won't you sit down?
Thank you. Now, according to the guard at the toll gate on the bridge the night Mr. Manning died, you were driving the car and Mr. Manning seemed to be asleep, right?
Mr. Manning worked very hard. I usually drove home while he relaxed.
Well, he must have been pretty relaxed that night. He didn't even wake up when you stopped to pay the toll.
Perhaps he was only pretending to be asleep. Mr. Anders, is that it? That's why I was so startled when he jumped out of the car.
Now, you had dinner that night, you and Mr. Manning, with Louis Craddock?
Mr. Craddock is the president of the Savings and Loan Company. It was on that night after dinner that the tragedy occurred.
Now, Mr. Craddock wasn't in the car with you.
He took a cab from the grotto.
Home?
Well, he was there when the police phoned him.
Well, you've been very patient, Miss Talbot. I'm sure you've been asked all these questions many times before.
Many times.
Do you mind just one more?
I'll try not to.
Where's the money?
I wish I knew. Mr. Manning's death was quite a shock to me. I don't believe that he took the money. Oh, excuse me.
Really?
Oh, Richard, come in. Richard, this is Mr.
Hi, Mr. Anders.
Hi, Dick.
Oh, you know one another. Oh, of course, the investigation.
I've been bothering Miss Talbot with some more questions.
I could have answered them for you.
Oh, not all of them, Richard. Mr. Anders has been most considerate. Now, you sit down, and I'll be with you in a moment.
I was just going.
You'll be back.
Yeah, I'll be back. Good night.
Good night.
Hi, Dick.
I'm glad I found you here, Mr. Anders. I wanted to talk to you about Ruth Talbot.
What?
Look, be as easy on her as you can. She's pretty broken up over what's happened.
She told me that she's going to be married to your father next month.
Gee, I didn't know that. But it pleases me very much. She'd have been good for Dad. I know she'd have been good for me.
Hmm?
I mean an older woman. I don't know. I take all my dates up to Ruth's place. She steered me off a couple of foul balls already.
Oh. You and your father pretty close?
Yeah. Dad was 41, but he had a way of never hitting me over the head with it. Yet I always knew he was talking to me from 20 years more experience.
You a good athlete?
Fair. Would have made a great coach, though. Brain guy, organizer. They sent him to Australia after Pearl Harbor. He had a staff set up by the time the generals got there. They went to Philippines, Guam. He's got a box full of citations and letters. Mr. Anders, after I left you last night, I had quite a long session with myself, and I decided on two things. First, my father never had anything to do with the $500,000 except legitimately. Geez, we lived in an apartment that rented for $175 a month. Dad drove a '53 coupe, had a bank account with about $1,800 in it, and a small deposit box with some things of Mom's.
We checked all that, Dick, but there's still $500,000 missing from the bank, and we've got a note signed by your father that says he took it.
I know, it looked like Dad's signature all right. Shaky, but I've seen checks signed like that before. Every once in a while, he'd get a recurrence of jungle fever and go around shaking for days. But the note was a phony.
How do you know?
Look, if Dad would have left a note like that, it would have been addressed to me. And this wasn't. He hasn't complained of jungle fever for over 6 months.
All right, Dick, you decided two things last night. First, your father isn't guilty, and second, you're going to prove it, right?
Right.
Well, if he didn't steal that money, he didn't jump off the bridge, but he was seen to drive onto the bridge, and his body was found in the bay, so that means somebody isn't fooling. You better leave the second part to me. Harry.
Dick, I want to talk to you about something. Come in.
Mr. Craddock?
Yes?
I'm sorry to bother you, Mr. Craddock. My name's Anders. I called your apartment. They said you might be here.
Oh, yes. Well, end of the month, interest payments are due, work piles up. I suppose you hear about Arnold Manning.
That's right.
Shocking thing, Mr. Anders. Manning was not only a business associate, but my best friend. It's hard to believe he's gone.
Now, how could $500,000 be missing, Mr. Craddock?
Negligence on my part. So far as I knew, Manning was a soul of integrity.
And the money must have been taken somewhere between the last audit and the night he died.
Yes, the examiners were to arrive the next morning.
Now, you had dinner with him that last night.
Yes. If I'd had any suspicion of the mess he was in, I'd...
No question about the money being missing?
None whatever.
What do you think happened to it?
And it must be around someplace. Manning was a conservative man. Even a profligate couldn't spend that much in such a short time.
How well do you know Ruth Talbot?
She was a friend of Manning's. The three of us were frequently together. Dinners, theater. Oh, excuse me. Yes? Speaking. Well, I'll be right over. We'll have to finish this some other time, Mr. Anders. That was a receiving hospital. Young Manning's been seriously hurt in an automobile accident. Thank you. It's a bad one.
How is he?
Unconscious. Will be for at least 24 hours.
How did it happen?
Hit and run. At least that's what it looks like. We found young Manning in a driveway back at the Peyton Arms.
Peyton Arms. We know somebody lives there, don't we?
Mm-hmm. Lewis Craddock, big man at the banker's savings.
Yeah. I was with him when he heard about the accident.
How did he hear?
We got a phone call from the hospital. He said it was from here.
Couldn't have been. I sealed this thing up tight until I could get in touch with you. I'm sure the police cooperated.
Could the boy have had a chance to talk?
He was unconscious when he was found. He's still unconscious.
All right, Al, go to the Peyton Arms, see what you can dig up. I'm going back to Grotto Restaurant. That's the last place I saw the kid. Maybe between us we can find somebody that knows what happened.
Like who?
Like who hit him. This night that Mr. Manning and Mr. Craddock and Miss Talbot all had dinner together, did you notice anything unusual?
Nothing. Except that Mr. Manning was a little loud. You know, loud and kind of thick-talking like he'd had too much to drink.
Was that unusual for him?
Oh, yes, indeed. Mr. Manning was a very quiet gentleman.
Did the three of them come in together?
No, Mr. Craddock and Miss Talbot were here and had ordered dinner when Mr. Manning came in.
Did Mr. Manning look like he had too much to drink when he came in?
No, he didn't. He went straight to the table and started talking low and serious-like.
Well, then he had a lot to drink during dinner.
I only served a little bottle of wine with the dinner.
This loud, thick talk of Mr. Manning's, did that get worse or better?
Oh, worse. When I brought the check to the table, Mr. Manning grabbed it, signed it, and wrote something on it. Mr. Craddock said, "What are you writing?" Mr. Manning said, "A tip for Harry. I always give Harry a tip on the horses." Then Mr. Craddock took the check and gave it to me.
Well, did he always give you a tip on the horses?
No, we never talked about horses.
You still got that check?
Right here.
You been carrying it around with you all this time?
No, I got it out to show to young Mr. Manning tonight.
Joe Bees. That a good tip?
I don't know. I looked over the entries for the whole week and never saw a horse with that name.
You showed this to Dick tonight?
Yeah, right after you left.
I mean anything to him?
It must have. He jumped up and ran out of here like I'd struck a nerve.
Thanks, Harry.
Hi, Matt.
How'd you make out, Al? Did you do any good?
Well, I found a night watchman who remembered a convertible parked back at the Peyton Arms. Described it pretty well, so I came over here looking for it.
So who's it belong to?
Ruth Talbot.
Well, you better call the crime lab. Get a couple of the boys over here to check it.
Already have.
Good. Give them that, too, will you? See you at the hospital.
Mr. Anders. I was just going to bed.
Very jazzy-looking pajamas. Has Dick Manning been here?
Why, no.
Have you seen him?
Not since you have. Mr. Anders, will you please hurry and do whatever you intend to do? The management doesn't allow gentlemen visitors at this hour.
Well, it's a very good idea. Come on in, Mr. Craddock. Thought you were going to the hospital.
Well, I am. I just stopped in to tell Miss Talbot about the accident. She's such a good friend of the Mannings.
Well, I could have saved you a trip. See, the boy's unconscious, and he'd probably be that way for another 24 hours. Were you at the Peyton Arms tonight, Miss Talbot?
Why, what would I be doing at the Peyton Arms?
Well, I just thought you might have seen Dick Manning there. Your car was in the parking lot behind the apartment house. It's still there, in fact.
Why, someone must have been driving my car. As far as I know, it was here all evening.
Well, no matter. As soon as the boy recovers, he'll tell us what happened anyway. Good night. Sorry, Al. Mr. Craddock was just leaving.
It's horrible. Horrible.
Yeah, bad accidents are always horrible. Death is a pretty frightening thing sometimes.
Yes.
I didn't know he was here.
I figured he might show up. What's doing?
Doc Harvey from the crime lab is out there. He's got some dope for you.
All right, nurse, thank you. What do you got, Doc?
Well, nothing positive on the Talbot car. Now, the dinner check. Do I understand that you can produce a witness who will swear that the signature on this check was written by Manning on the night of his death?
That's right, one of the waiters at the grotto. Watch him sign it.
Then I can tell you that the signature on this alleged confession note is a forgery. The shaky writing was difficult to break down until we had something with which to compare it.
Oh, what about the jungle fever?
Well, obviously, it didn't affect him when he signed this check.
He hadn't been attacked for 6 months. I think we can back that up with medical testimony if we have to. Did you find anything else on the dinner check?
Well, that's the most interesting thing of all. These two words, Joe B's.
Well, it's supposed to mean a tip on the horses.
Are they?
Not according to all the available records.
Well, they must have meant something to the kid. He's in the hospital as a result of them.
Did either or both of the Mannings spend some time in England?
No, I don't think so. How about Australia? That help?
Very much.
Well, Mr. Manning was a staff officer during the war in the South Pacific, and he spent a lot of time in Sydney.
Did you ever hear your suit referred to as a fiddle?
No.
Did you ever hear a girl referred to as a twist?
Sure.
Yeah, twist and twirl. It's a girl.
Fiddle and flute, that's the suit. Rhyming slang. Australian originally, I believe, although it's used extensively in the English underworld. And, as you have demonstrated, it's not unknown here. Those who are proficient in its use drop the rhyme and just talk in first words.
Yeah, sure, I've heard the Aussies spout that stuff. It's like the doc says, they've got a rhyming expression for almost every word. But to really throw you off, they don't say the rhyme part. They just say the first word, like, lady from Bristol, that's a pistol. Skyrocket, that's a pocket. So instead of saying, I've got a pistol in my pocket, an Aussie would say, there's a lady in the sky. We'll figure that out. North and south is mouth.
The Melvin Piers, that's the ears. Oh, that's a delightful one. As a matter of fact, that's how I got the angle on this Australian thing.
Yeah, but now what about Joe B's?
2 words. Joe for Joe Goss, that's the boss.
Craddock.
And B's and honey for that's the money.
The boss has the money.
Dick Manning took one look at that and headed for the Peyton Arms to get Craddock.
Craddock wasn't there.
Somebody was.
You find Ruth Talbot. I'm going to pick up Craddock. Thanks, Doc. You did it.
Just came in. Seemed to be in a hurry.
That figures.
We've got the back door covered.
She comes out without me, grab her. Evening.
You picked the most inopportune times to call, Mr. Anders.
Still getting ready for bed?
Getting ready for travel.
Oh. Oh. Any place in particular?
I thought I might try South America. Do you know anything about it?
$500,000 will go a long way down there.
What is this with you, Mr. Anders? A fetish?
No, no. You see, the thought of that kind of money just springs out the beast in me.
How interesting. I'll fix us a drink.
Fine.
A water or soda?
Water. Thank you.
Here you are, sir. Cheers. Something wrong?
No, I saw a guy do it in a movie one time. Always wanted to try it. It was a great story. All about Lucretia Borgia.
How romantic.
You, looking for this?
Yes, may I have it?
No, I think ballistics might want to take a look at it and compare it with those bullets they're digging out of Craddock.
Craddock?
Louis Craddock, he's dead. And Arnold Manning is dead. And Dick's in the hospital unconscious, so that kind of narrows it down to you. Now, where's the money?
Oh, didn't Craddock have it? Isn't that why he went back to the office tonight?
How'd you know he went back to the office? Did you go with him? Well, why didn't you slip him a Mickey and dump him off the bridge, too? Why don't you like to repeat yourself, Miss Talbot? Well, what's the matter with your little friend? Some bothering you? Well, you tell me one thing, why didn't you call me?
Oh, I did call you from the grotto before I left, but I couldn't get a hold of you. So I went to Craddock's place on my own. He wasn't there, but Ruth Talbot was, and we decided to look for Craddock together. I waited in the alley while Ruth got the car, and boom, that's all I remember.
Well, Doc says you can forget all about that. You're shaping up real fine, so keep punching.
Thanks, Matt.
Take it easy now.
Yeah. Hey, Matt!
What?
Rory O'More.
What?
The door.
Rory O'More. Here's your twist and twirl.
that story's been in every paper in town. Look, I'm a newspaper man. I don't do any personal favors for anybody, except yours truly.
Well, Ingram?
Oh, Mr. City Editor. It's the day of the day my head rolls.
Well, let's say that you're on probation. It's not that I don't like you, Ingram, which I don't. It's just that you're not doing a job. All right, you've had it.
Thanks, I don't need it.
Huh?
This story, when I get it, will hold my job for me.
Oh, Mrs. Charles Frost is coming back from England. After 15 years, isn't it?
That's right. The little lady wings in today. I wonder what Mr. Frost will do about it.
Maybe he doesn't know. Maybe she isn't coming back to him.
Maybe no, maybe yes. Maybe it's a story.
It strikes me you'd be the last person to get it. Now, wasn't it because of you that Charles Frost locked himself away from reporters and away from the world?
That's right.
Now, look, Charles Frost came out of nowhere, made himself a fortune, and married a society girl. Then you dug up some sort of story that queered his marriage and turned him into a recluse. And since then, practically no one has seen him, especially reporters.
Ah, that was real dirt. I found out he'd been in jail, married to some cheap little Corrine.
I see.
The second Mrs. Frost was brought up under a glass bell. She couldn't take it, the scandal, and especially because he hadn't told her about it. So she hightailed it to London to recover among the lords and ladies.
Yes, but Charles Frost still is a power, a personality.
Well, you'll admit it's a front-page story if I get it, won't you?
Yeah, if.
I'll get it. Look at that joint where Frost lives. Shut up like a medieval castle. Hasn't been a bit of news come out of there in 15 years.
You know why you want the story so badly? Because you know you were a louse to expose Frost in the first place. So now you're going to prove you were right by doing a follow-up.
Thank you.
Here, John. Get me my binoculars.
Here, take a look.
I can hardly believe it, sir. And you recognize him, too? It's that reporter, the one who caused all the trouble.
Oh, come on, let's go and get a cup of coffee. I gotta figure out how to get in there, how to get Frost out.
Get me my hat and cane. Are you going out, sir?
Yes. I'm going to meet him. You can't keep hate bottled up for 15 years. There comes a time when you've got to do something about it.
Look, Nick, there's Frost.
Are you sure that's Frost?
Of course I'm sure. I have a police file memory for faces. Hey, he's coming over here.
And wait till he sees you.
Oh, I don't think he'll recognize me after all these years.
Well, it could be.
Look, you get over there and lay low and don't take any pictures unless I give you the signal.
Okay, boss.
See, I'm not going to let on that I know he's Frost or that I'm a reporter.
Well, what makes you think he'll open up to a stranger?
Look, Sonny, I've got the cards and I'm dealing. I'll direct the conversation. Now, go on. Here you go.
Okay.
Good morning, sir.
Just grapefruit.
I'm glad to see you're a grapefruit fan, sir. I grow them.
Oh?
So, in a way, you furnish my living.
Well, I must remember that.
I'm just visiting here in town looking over some of my distributors.
I see.
Oh, I see I'm interrupting you. I'm sorry, but I thought that, well, from the part of the country I come from, we just